Let me ask you something uncomfortable. How many times have you made the plan, felt genuinely ready, then watched yourself quietly abandon it by Wednesday? You set the schedule, you color-coded it, you bought the highlighters. You told yourself this semester would be different. Then the same pattern played out again, like it always does. And you sat there wondering, what is wrong with you? Nothing is wrong with you. You just never learned the actual thing. Not the tricks, not the hacks, not the 10 study tips that will transform your grades overnight. The actual thing underneath all of it. This is the story of a student who figured it out the hard way. His name is Daniel, 21 years old, second-year law student at a university in Sydney, Australia. Daniel was sharp. Everyone said so. His high school teachers said so. His entrance results said so. His parents believed it completely and reminded him regularly with the specific kind of pride that doubles as pressure. But in his second year, something had quietly gone wrong. Not dramatically. He had not failed anything. He had not had a breakdown. From the outside, everything looked fine. But Daniel knew. The assignments were getting submitted at the last possible minute, rushed and thin. The readings were piling up untouched. He was sitting in lectures, physically present, and mentally somewhere else entirely. Every Sunday night, he made a new plan. His notes app was full of them. Weekly schedules broken into subject blocks with allocated hours and color-coded priorities. Plans so detailed and optimistic, they looked like they belonged to someone already succeeding. By Thursday, the plan was irrelevant. By the following Sunday, I was making a new one. His flatmate James was a quietly focused architecture student who said very little and worked constantly. Daniel would sometimes glance over at James, sitting at his desk at the same time every evening. No music, no phone visible, just working. There was something almost annoying about how undramatic it looked. Daniel's mom called every Sunday. How are the studies going? Fine, Mom. Keeping on top of it. He had said some version of that sentence for 18 months. It had not been true for most of them. His mom worked long shifts as a nurse. His dad ran a small painting business. Neither of them had gone to university. They did not say, "This is your one chance," out loud. They did not need to. Daniel felt it in every call. The crisis arrived mid-semester. Contract law. A subject Daniel had convinced himself he understood because he had attended most of the lectures, and the content seemed logical enough. He started studying 4 days before the exam. 4 days of anxious, scattered, unstructured reading that covered ground without ever building anything solid. He sat in the exam hall and read the first question. He knew the general area. He had read about it. But the precise reasoning, the structure, the confidence to actually write it clearly and completely, none of that was there. He left sections underdeveloped. He ran out of time on the final question. 2 weeks later, the results came back. He passed, but only just. His mark placed him in the bottom quarter of his cohort. His faculty sent him a short formal email, suggesting he consider speaking with a student advisor before finals. He sat with his phone for a long time after reading it, not angry, not even particularly sad, just tired. Tired of starting over. Tired of the gap between the student he planned to be on Sunday night and the student he actually was by Friday. That evening, he went to the university library, not to study. He did not open a single book. He just sat there and watched. Some of the students around him had clearly been there for hours before he arrived at 7. When he left at 9, they were still there, not stressed, not performing intensity, just working, consistently, quietly, like it was simply what you did at this hour. An older postgraduate student named Ruth was sitting across from him. She had been there when he arrived and was still methodically working through a stack of papers when he started watching the room. At some point, she noticed him sitting with nothing in front of him and asked simply if he was all right. He said yes, then immediately said no. Actually, not really. Ruth closed her laptop halfway. He told her the whole thing, the plans that never held, the gap between intention and execution, the feeling that he was watching himself fail in slow motion while being completely unable to stop it. Ruth listened without interrupting. When he finished, she was quiet for a moment. Then she said something he did not expect. Your problem is not discipline. Your problem is that you think discipline is a feeling. She pulled out her own planner and opened it. Every single day had one block marked in pen. Not a range of hours. Not a goal of studying as long as possible. One specific hour. Same time. Every day. No exceptions listed. No alternatives offered. That is my one non-negotiable, she said. Everything else in my day is flexible. That 1 hour is not. Daniel looked at it. It seemed almost too simple. She shook her head before he could say it. It is not about the hour. It is about what the hour does to your brain over time. Your brain right now has no idea when to expect work. So it never prepares for it. It never shifts into the right state. You sit down to study, and your brain is still in idle because you have given it no consistent signal that this time is different from any other time. When you show up at the same time every day, the brain learns. After a few weeks, it starts preparing before you even sit down. That transition from distracted to focused that currently takes you 40 minutes of fighting yourself starts happening automatically. You're not building motivation, she said. You are building a condition your brain recognizes. She wrote 3 things on a piece of paper and slid it across the table. 1, fixed time, not flexible time. Not when I feel ready. 7 o'clock or whatever time you choose. Written down, non-negotiable. 2, a kept promise, not a long session. Not 2 hours if you can manage it. 1 hour every single day. Finish completely. A small promise kept is worth more than a large promise broken. 3, mark the streak, not the session. After every session, put a mark somewhere visible. A cross on a calendar. A tick in a notebook. Do not break the chain. The longer the chain, the heavier the cost of breaking it, and the more you will protect it. Daniel wrote it down slowly. Is that it? He asked. That is the structure, Ruth said. Everything else comes after you have built the rope. She said it the way someone says something obvious that happens to be true. Your reasons, your motivation, your technique, all of that is useful. But none of it will sit down at the desk for you. Only one thing does that. The decision that you are showing up at this time, regardless. Not because you feel like it, because you decided. Daniel left the library that night without a new plan. He made one decision. 7 o'clock every evening. 1 hour, no exceptions. The first week felt underwhelming in a way he had not expected. Not hard, exactly. Just ordinary. He sat down at 7. He opened his contract law textbook. He studied. At 8, he stopped. He put a cross on the calendar above his desk. No sense of transformation, no feeling of breakthrough. Just a mark on a calendar. The second week was harder in a different way. On Tuesday, his friends were watching something in the common room, and the sound of it came through his door for the entire hour. He closed the door, opened the textbook, studied for an hour. He did not feel good about it particularly. He just marked it. Around day 19, something small shifted. He noticed he was anticipating 7:00 in the way you anticipate dinner. Not with excitement, just with expectation. Like it was simply the next thing that happened at this time of day. James walked past his open door one evening, glanced in and said, "You're always at that desk at 7. "Yeah," said Daniel, and went back to reading. It was the first time he had described himself accurately. By week 5, the daily hour had built something he had not expected. Not just knowledge, though, that was accumulating. Something closer to comprehension. The concepts from lectures that had previously slid past him without catching on anything were starting to connect. He was asking better questions in tutorials. His written work had more structure to it. Not because he was trying harder, but because he had more to work with. He saw Ruth in the library occasionally. She would nod from across the room. No long conversations, just the acknowledgement between two people who understood what the work actually required. In week 8, he broke the chain. His grandmother had a health scare. Nothing serious ultimately, but he spent 2 nights traveling and handling things. He missed 2 sessions. When he came back, there were 2 gaps on his calendar. He sat and looked at them for a while. Then he marked the return. Not to pretend he had not missed them, to mark the fact that he was back. And he sat down and studied. He mentioned it to Ruth the next time he saw her. "Good," she said. "Good that I missed it? Good that you came back without making the gap a reason to stop. Most people miss once and treat it as permission to quit. You did not do that." Finals arrived. Daniel did not feel like a different person walking into the exam hall. He felt the same nerves, the same uncertainty. But when he read the first question, the material was there. Not because he had crammed it in a panic, because he had encountered it in small pieces over 90 days. And it had been given time to actually settle. He wrote clearly. He finished. He answered everything. His final grade placed him in the top third of his cohort. Not the best in the room, not a dramatic transformation, a real and earned improvement of the kind that comes from the inside rather than from a single lucky exam. He called his mom that night. "How did the exams go?" "Really well, Mom. Actually, really well." That was the first time in 2 years it had been true. He went back to the library the following week. Found Ruth at her usual spot. Sat across from her. "Did it work?" she asked. "Yes. But not the way I thought it would." He paused. "I thought discipline would feel powerful. Like some big internal force. It just felt quiet. Like something that was simply there." Ruth nodded slowly. "That is exactly what it is. Not a feeling of strength. A quiet structure you built. And now it belongs to you." Here's the truth this story points at. You are not failing because you are lazy. You're not failing because you are not smart enough. You are failing because you are waiting for the right feeling before you start. And feelings do not run on a schedule. Motivation arrives and disappears on its own timeline. Discipline is a structure, and structures hold even when feelings are completely absent. The rope that Ruth described is real. 1 hour a day at the same time is 1 strand. Tomorrow is another. 7 days is 7 strands. 30 days is 30. After a full semester of that, you have built something no single exam performance can give you. Here is where you start. First, pick one subject. Just one. Decide on a specific time every day to study it. Not when you feel like it. A fixed time. Write it down. It does not move. Second, start with 45 minutes, not 2 hours. 45-minute completed fully is worth more than a 2-hour session. You abandoned halfway through because the conditions were not right. A kept promise is the whole point. Third, mark every session. A cross on a calendar, a tick in a notebook. Build the chain, then protect it. The longer it gets, the more it will cost you to break it, and the more seriously you will take that cost. You do not need a new plan. You have had enough plans. You need to practice. And every practice starts with one session. The one you do today, whether you feel like it or not. If this landed for you, share it with someone who is tired of starting over. And subscribe to the channel because this is exactly the kind of thing we talk about here. Show up today. That is the whole instruction.